Hai, ce facem? Da. Nu trebuie să-l sară.
This year, the Romanian Pavilion somehow turns its attention and focus on the children, and through their eyes, we are trying to underline the fact how so many things come from the sincerity and playfulness of the children, who can become these ambassadors of architecture or of urbanism, or who can look at our free space as the concept of this edition is, with a different view and with a different angle. Free space is defined by them by playfulness, by game, by simple beauty. And I think the project MNEMONICS puts us, all of us adults, in the position from where we can only learn how to look at our common spaces again with a more optimistic and not property-like feeling, but more with the feeling of how we can commonly use our public spaces in a more optimistic and playful way. But more about this, I think the curator could tell us more. Romeo Cook.
Good evening, my name is Romeo Cook. I'm the curator of the Romanian Pavilion, and what I want to say is that the MNEMONICS, our project, and the response for the free space subject, it's like a journey in childhood that explores the free space between the housing blocks. This space, it's really a resource for the activities that the child time was spent, and we think that putting on walls the game rules of the childhood could give us an idea of what collective memories could define our territory. What did I say in addition to that is the future, because in our project we involved a special program, an education program, that will take care of our children's education, and we'll try to learn them how to use and to value more this free space. So I think I'll give the word to Mina Sava, and she will say more.
Good evening, I'm Mina Sava, and I work with children and architects. And we were invited to complete Romeo's team work with children's ideas. This pavilion expresses especially my childhood, and now we had to translate with our children their vision for the future of their childhood. I hope you will enjoy it, and I hope you will play with the toys that they have inside. They have many little books with games you can use here or anywhere in the city, and try to play in the city and try to play with your kids, and try to teach them about the city a little bit more, because the city is our playground. Thank you.
I would like to add that the Romanian participation, as every year, is organized and sponsored by the Ministry of Culture and National Identity, the Romanian Institute of Culture, the Union of Architects, and and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And in the behalf of the Romanian Institute Culture Institute, I would like to ask Mr. please invite Bela to say a few words.
Yeah, thank you. You already stole my speech, so I have to resume just in a few words. So, ladies and gentlemen, first, please. Good evening, and thank you for being with us in this evening. I need my inspiration, so I need your patience also. So much younger than the Artist Biennale itself, the architecture exhibition turned into the most important international event in its field, each edition adding ever more substance and value to the efforts bared by artists. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. So this is Romania's case too, as we have been taking part in the Architecture Biennale for almost 25 years. Moreover, attending this year's edition is of the utmost importance for Romania, just as we are celebrating the centennial of our national unity. The Romanian Cultural Institute pays special attention to the presence of our country in this worldwide event, becoming one of the main sponsors of the national competition organized in order to represent Romania to the Biennale. Alongside our national pavilion in Giardini, a part of the Romanian exhibition will be hosted by us in the new gallery of the Romanian Institute for Culture and Humanistic Research in Venice. As I mentioned before, this year we celebrate 100 years of national unity. And we take this important opportunity to evoke a part of the spectacular evolution of Romanian architecture during the last 100 years. The first couple years following the Great War marked the switch from the neo-Romanian style, typical for the beginning of the last century, to modernism. Enthusiastically, young architects embraced Cubism, together in the third of the fourth decade, with a rationalist revision of the old new Romanian style. The Stalinist architecture of the sixth decade made room for a new manner of thinking, trying to keep the pace with the fast-paced, and sometimes with the forced urbanization and industrialization that struck Romania, especially since 1965. In this evolutionary process, the industrial city represented the hallmark for urban settlement. As a result, in 1986, more than half of the country's population was living in cities, comparing to the middle of the century, when Romania was a country with mostly rural structure and a low level of urbanization. Just 23.4% in 1948. This type of excessive and rapid shift focused not on the quality of the living space, but on mass. This trend generated a collective community space which did not represent a priority for the urban integration processes. The space between blocks of flats. This space became the stomping ground for those living nearby, and especially for the young generation of children who used it as mostly the only dedicated playground for hanging around. Far from being an ideal, this was almost everything those children could afford. An entire different world compared to their parents' existential matrix, unsophisticated peasants, leaving their farms, their true households, built through several generations with their bare hands. It was a different universe, non-traditional, and these new resident citizens found themselves obliged to fabricate new rules for a neighborly living. This space is, for us, the topic of debate for the MNEMONICS project, inspired by this year's Biennale's theme, Free Space. All that took place in those aisles between blocks and flats, present in almost every urban area and even in many villages, tells the story of a certain childhood common for many of those in their prime today. Back in Romania, Some of the architects and urban planners representing the younger generation are involved in more complicated projects. These are endeavors that personalize blocks of flats in some of the biggest cities of our country: Bucharest, Cluj, Timișoara and Craiova. Urban projects embraced and promoted by the township, together with their local communities, are designed to bring a sense of harmony in these dormitory districts surrounding historic centers. All of these stand for attempts to transform the uniformity of the communist way of living in a more natural environment. Returning to our exhibition project, its value lay also in its manner of transforming the late reality into a story about the childhood. But there is always something more in the MNEMONICS project as well. A hidden and untold hope that today youngsters should be able to turn this built space in Romania into a place without social alienation, a place called home for everyone. Thank you again for being with us in this evening, and please enjoy the exhibition.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank all of the organizers and all of the sponsors of this project. And I would like to invite Romeo to say the last words before opening.
Okay, so for the last words, and we have only one rule: you have to jump the hopscotch at the entering. And I hope you agree with me that for this year's edition, Romanian Pavilion it's the playground for Biennale of Architecture.